Hello, it's Jimmy here at O'Reilly's. Looking at behind me a BMW 330D, so it's an M57 engine. So I'm halfway through the diagnosis here, so apologies for starting halfway through the video, but I thought I'd just continue and make the video. Sorry, but at the start I was a little bit distracted, obviously, with having a chat with a customer about what's been going on and what have you. Okay, so it's got a block DPF as well as an air deviation code. Now I've ran a smoke test through here and also through this side of the boost pipes. No boost leak found. It's not a vacuum operated turbo, so it's an electric solenoid turbo down there. Now that arm is moving, we've already tested that. You can see here I've had this off because, let's see if I don't know if we can get down there and have a look, but where that pipe connects to the turbo, you could see it was leaking down there. The rubber seal was gone on that, so the other end of this pipe, as it connects to the turbo, the rubber seal was gone and it was leaking quite badly, to the point where there was a huge gap around it, so it wasn't even properly connected. Put a new seal on that now, so we've got the air flow sealed up, and we are just on now to fixing the DPF. Now, one thing to say about this car is, you could probably tell by the cobwebs everywhere. Now, there was cobwebs completely across here when I arrived, as well as most of the places all around the car. It's not been driven at all really in the past 3 years. It's only done a couple hundred miles. Reason for that is he's got a small car for commuting around basically, and he doesn't really use this one anymore, but he doesn't want to get rid of it. So because of the air leak down here, the car's gone into restricted performance and it's blocked up the DPF. Okay, so here's the codes that we're left with: 480A, 481A, 426E, so that's the battery sensor, and 4D00, so that's for the DPF. Now if we come onto data stream, particle filter, let's start the engine up. So you can see there at idle, let's let that settle down. Well, we did have higher than that just now, we just had 68 millibars, but we've got sort of 60 millibars of pressure at idle, and if we hold it up to sort of 3000 RPM, let's get that all the way up. You can see as the longer you hold the revs, the hotter the DPF's going to get, and then that'll keep increasing slightly. If we hold the revs here for say a minute or two, that's going to go over 700 millibars. Now if we let it idle back down, it's probably going to idle a little bit higher than it was now. So maybe the it's fluctuating a bit there, you see. Not sure what that's about. So it's on 75 now. So it is now requesting to do a regen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flush out that pressure. That pressure is way too high for a normal regen to be successful with the car, and there is a chance of maybe overheating it or damaging it. So let's get a cleaner into it. Okay, so in the back of my van here I've got already my setup compressor there, and that's hooked up to an airline, and we'll get DPF Cleaner in. So I'm using some Launch UK DPF Cleaner. Got about half a bottle of that in there, and we'll top it up with some water. Okay, so now I've got the fluid into the spray gun here, and I've got that pressured up to 131 psi. So now if we look at the engine right here, come down the side, it's nice and easy to access on these. You got a DPF sensor right there, And if I get one of these little trim tools, we can push the pressure pipe hose off, or tube. Just like that. Now we can connect our gun directly in there and get that fluid sprayed in. So I've got that connected up now. So a couple of things I'll mention about doing this is, like I said, I know I'm mentioning what I'm doing, but probably got to make it clear to people who don't understand. Before you clean this DPF, you need to find why the DPF's blocked. So we found a seal down there, we've already sorted that. Hopefully there is no other seals. I've done a smoke test, so I can't see any other leaks anywhere. Sorry I didn't include that bit in the first of the video. It's just obviously the customer was with me here and a little bit chatty, so I was getting distracted. So we're now going to do the DPF clean. The reason you do a DPF clean rather than a regen on these is when the car does its own self regen as you're driving, the pressure would be significantly lower, so the temperature wouldn't be so high. The higher the pressure in the DPF, the higher the temperature is going to be. It's like making a small fire and then making a big bonfire with a lot of fuel in it. So that's what's going to happen with a DPF that is that blocked. So if we flush it out with some of this fluid, it's going to make not only the cleaning process better, but a lot safer as well. So we'll get this squeezed in. So my compressor was switched off there, didn't realise. You get that pressure built up to 131 psi. You can see the signs where this car doesn't get used everywhere. When I did say he had a different car for commuting around, I did get that wrong, that's next door. So yeah, it's actually a nice Porsche Cayman S there he's using. Now the pressure's built up, we'll again squeeze the trigger, and I'm going to hold this trigger pulled until all of the fluid is gone. So that's going to push that fluid down there, and if we just push a little bit in, it's just going to sit there. But if we, the way I like to do it is, if it's possible on a DPF that sits nice and low, is hold the trigger long enough that it hasn't got anywhere else to go, but force its way through the DPF and soak through it. I think this way works a lot better. Now, of course, on some cars, if you've got a DPF that sits higher than the turbo or higher than the cylinders, if you fill it too much, it will backfill and you might hydrolock the engine, so just be careful on what car you're using that on. So one car I would mention on that you shouldn't do that on is a VW 2 litre TDI, 1.6 TDI. Okay, so it looks like all of the fluid is now gone. Now it's going to be about 5 minutes to the point of where I've put the fluid in to the point of where I'm going to start the engine of the car. Right, so I'm back in the car. Just cycle the ignition back on and off again and get it started up. So you can see there, as that fluid starts melting down the soot, it will temporarily increase a little bit, but then you can see it comes right back down again. Now let's hold it back up around 3000 RPM. And we'll keep an eye on that pressure. So you can see it's come down from 6. Sorry, I'm getting carried away with the reds there. See, it's come down from 650 already down to 250. So we'd like to get that under 100, ideally round about sort of somewhere between 40 to 60 millibars. Let's just keep that. These modern cars are really difficult to get the revs to stay exactly where you want them. Want it to stay around about 3000 RPM really. So it looks like it's evening out a little bit there. Now the pressure is good enough for me to do a DPF reset, so we're going to do that. And idling, I should have continued there, but yeah, idling the DPF, we are on 9.9 millibars now. So I'll just continue giving it a few boost revs for a couple of minutes. So I'm just clearing the codes, and if I haven't mentioned, this is the Launch Euro Tab 3, so it's a UK tool from Launch UK. So I've just cleared these codes now, and we'll take the car on a bit of a test drive and then recheck the pressure after we've done that. So we're on a little test drive here, and we can see that the boost is working. Okay, so we finished around about a 20-minute test drive there. Okay, back looking at the live data, you can see there that it did do a regeneration, and we still have sort of around about 10 millibars of pressure on the DPF. So that's as far as it come down, 9.9. Just over 3000 RPM, we have 64 millibars, so absolutely perfect. So now to clear these codes for the particle filter, we need to go to special function, drive, and diesel particle filter replacement. This is just going to reset the values of the DPF. Okay, that's done. Now if we clear the codes, they should now be deleted and they'll stay gone. So this vehicle is 220,000 miles, just under, a couple of miles under. So that's it, it's 220,000 miles and it's a 2007 diesel car. So that's it, we're all finished, and see you on the next video.